Well, look, from the outset of this war, we have seen protests taking place in solidarity with the Palestinian people across the globe, not just in the Middle East, but here in this region. We saw last night a real outpouring of both outrage and condemnation following that attack on the Al Ahli hospital inside the Gaza Strip. So far, Hamas says at least 500 people were killed in that attack. They have pointed the finger of responsibility at Israel, although the Israeli government has categorically denied any involvement in this attack and has placed responsibility on the Islamic Jihad group inside Gaza. But of course, there is a real focus on the civilian toll, on the impact this has had. Hundreds of lives lost, killed in this devastating and horrifying attack. And we've seen the videos, those terrible images of bodies lined up outside of the hospital, and that is really what sparked these protests that we saw last night here in Amman. Huge crowds gathering in the city around the Israeli embassy, some protesters even attempting to storm the Israeli embassy at one point. And of course, it is important to note that we have seen protests in support of the Palestinian cause taking place on an almost daily basis here in Jordan. But we also saw demonstrations and protests in Lebanon, in Tunisia, in Iraq, even in the occupied West Bank in Ramallah, where there were even some clashes between protesters and security forces. And this isn't going to end here, as we continue to see these airstrikes on Gaza by the IDF, as we continue to see the civilian death toll mounting in the besieged Gaza Strip, which is of course under a complete siege. No food, no water, no electricity, and no fuel is getting in. That solidarity with the Palestinian people is only going to grow, and I cannot overstate the prevalence and significance that the Palestinian cause holds in these Arab nations. It has long held a prime place of prevalence for many, and of course it certainly does for these protesters taking to the streets. Now the question is whether or not this translates from popular opinion to policy by Arab leaders. We've already seen the summit which was scheduled to take place today in Amman between King Abdullah of Jordan, President al-Sisi of Egypt, and President Mahmoud Abbas of the Palestinian Authority, as well as, of course, US President Joe Biden. That summit has now been cancelled, the Jordanian foreign minister condemning yesterday's attack. But of course, it remains to be seen what further action is taken by the Arab leaders. Nada Bashir, CNN in Amman.